Before I tell you what happened to this man, there's something you need to understand. He wasn't naive. He wasn't some lonely retiree chasing a dream on a distant beach. He wasn't careless with his finances, and he certainly wasn't bad at reading people. He earned a six-figure income, lived a disciplined financial life, and had spent 17 years building a solid professional reputation. Everything he had was built step by step, carefully and intentionally. And yet, none of it, not a single part of the life he built, shielded him from what was coming. Because the woman who entered his life wasn't searching for a fool. She was looking for a man carrying quiet, invisible wounds, and who had no idea just how clearly those wounds could be seen. This story was shared by a viewer named Mark. While you're here, feel free to drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And if you have a story of your own, don't hesitate to reach out. Every story is treated with care, and yours could help someone else feel less alone. If you're finding these stories meaningful, consider subscribing. I truly appreciate you being here. My name is Mark. Mark Henderson, 48 years old. IT director for a major healthcare company in Columbus, Ohio. $145,000 a year, earned promotion by promotion over a career built on consistency. I owned a 4-bedroom house in a quiet suburb, 2 cars in the garage, a healthy 401k, a credit score that made loan officers lean forward with a smile. A wife of 18 years named Lisa. 2 kids, Ethan, 15, and Grace, 13. We went to church on Sundays, vacationed every July, hosted Thanksgiving every November without fail. From any angle, it looked exactly like the life you were supposed to build. Stable. Respectable. Complete. I had done everything right. I believed, the way you believe in things you've never had reason to question, that the life I'd built was solid. But things had been quietly wrong for at least 2 years before the end came.
You look like you
Lisa
could use a
started
drink.
spending more time at the gym.
Oh, I definitely
Then after work
could.
drinks that ran later and later. Then her phone became something she guarded like classified material, screen tilted away, calls taken in the bathroom with the fan running. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself 18 years had to mean something permanent. My gut wasn't wrong. It had never been wrong. I had just gotten very good at overriding it. The confession came on a Wednesday evening in March. The kids were upstairs doing homework. Lisa sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands folded neatly, and told me she had been sleeping with a man named Brett from her marketing department for 11 months. She was in love with him. She wanted a divorce. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, staring at the fruit bowl on the counter, 3 bananas, 2 apples, while the entire architecture of my adult life came down around me in complete silence. The divorce took 5 months. Lisa kept the house. I kept $2,200 a month in child support and every other week with my kids. I found a rented townhouse 15 minutes away, 3 bedrooms, 1 for each kid, but those rooms sat empty far more than they were used. I would drive home after dropping Grace off, heat up whatever was in the freezer, and eat it standing at the kitchen counter. Because sitting alone at a table felt like too much of an admission. Every time I caught myself in the mirror, the gray at my temples, the tired eyes of a man who'd been giving everything to a life that had been quietly walking away, the same thought surfaced. Quiet, relentless. Of course she left you. Look at you. I tried the dating platforms. All of them. Women my age didn't respond, or agreed to one polite dinner and evaporated. I'd get maybe 1 match per week, and even those collapsed after a few days of conversation neither of us believed in. In the world of American online dating at 48, recently divorced, physically average, carrying the invisible weight of a man who'd been hurt, I was a statistic. That's when my friend Danny changed the direction of my life. He'd gone through his own divorce 2 years earlier and had recently started seeing a woman from the Philippines through an international matchmaking site. He couldn't stop talking about her. How warm she was. How genuine. How she made him feel like a man who mattered again. One Friday night he leaned across the bar and said what I'd been half expecting him to say for months. Filipino women are different, he said. They're not jaded. They actually want to take care of a good man. I rolled my eyes. But Danny wasn't performing contentment. He genuinely seemed happy, lighter than I'd seen him in years. And I was genuinely miserable. So when he texted me the name of the site, I told myself there was no harm in just looking. I created an account on a Saturday afternoon. Kept it simple, a few photos, a short paragraph about being a professional in Ohio looking for something real. I spent maybe 30 minutes browsing, feeling quietly ridiculous, then closed the laptop and went to bed thinking nothing would come of it. By Sunday morning, 11 women had written to me. 11. After months of being functionally invisible, 11 people had sent personalized messages overnight. Most were clearly formulaic. But one wasn't. Her name was Sunshine Reyes. She went by Sunny. Her profile photo showed a woman who was almost unreasonably beautiful, dark hair, warm brown eyes, a smile that conveyed quiet depth. But it wasn't the photo that stopped me. It was her bio. 4 sentences. Single mother. Looking for something genuine. Tired of games. Wants a partner who is kind and stable and real. Her message read, "Hi, Mark. Something about your profile drew me in. You seem like a genuinely kind person, and that's rarer than it should be. I'm not looking for anything casual. I'd love to get to know you." I read it 3 times. There was one detail I didn't notice, the thing I would later identify as the clearest signal I missed. Her account was only 2 weeks old. A brand new profile on an international dating site is the first flag in the textbook on romance fraud. But I didn't know that textbook existed. I wrote back. And just like that, the trap was set. Our first conversation lasted 4 hours. Sunny was from Davao City, raising a 6-year-old daughter named Lee entirely alone. The father had left before she was born and never made contact. She asked about my divorce with a gentleness that disarmed me. Not prying. Just making space. And in that space, I told her things I hadn't said out loud to anyone. How Lisa's affair had made me feel fundamentally defective. How the empty house pressed in at night. How I'd started to quietly wonder if anyone would ever genuinely want me again. "You deserve better, Mark," she said. Her voice shifted, a slight catch, like she was keeping herself from feeling too much. A man who works that hard, who gives that much, she didn't know what she had. That breaks my heart. Nobody had said that to me. Not my friends, not my family, not my therapist. Sunny was the first person who simply told me I deserved better, without qualifications, and said it like she meant it in her body, not just her words. That's what she needed me to believe. And in month 1 of a carefully engineered operation, she had already delivered the most important line. Within a week, we were video calling every day. 2 hours minimum, often 3. I started setting my alarm for 5 a.m. just to have an hour with her before work, and I looked forward to it. It was the first thing I looked forward to in months. She remembered details I'd mentioned once in passing and brought them up days later unprompted. "How did Ethan's basketball game go? Did you finish that book, the one about the war?" It felt like being seen. Like someone was paying close enough attention to actually know me. I hadn't felt that in so long that when it arrived, I absorbed it completely, without question. By week 2, she'd never felt a connection like this. By week 6, she was falling for me. By week 8, I was everything she'd been hoping for without letting herself admit it. The escalation was textbook, deliberate, calibrated, timed to keep me emotionally accelerating without triggering the part of my brain that still knew how to be cautious. But when you've been starving for real affection, you don't analyze the speed of the meal. You eat. You eat everything on the table. She introduced me to Lee about 6 weeks in. A small, shy girl who eventually waved at the screen and said hi, Uncle Mark, in a voice so quiet I had to lean in to hear it. I watched Sunny with her daughter, patient, warm, doing it alone, and something in me moved that hadn't moved in a long time. This wasn't just a beautiful woman who wanted me. This was a mother. A devoted, struggling, real-life mother who had chosen, out of everyone she could have chosen, to give her attention to me. I just didn't know yet that someone else was the architect. The first time money entered the conversation, it didn't arrive as a request. We were on a video call and Sunny mentioned offhandedly that Lee needed school supplies, notebooks, pencils, a backpack, but payday wasn't for another week. She moved on quickly, the way you move on from something you've already accepted you can't fix. I stopped her. "How much do you need?" "Mark, no. That's not why I mentioned it. I'm not asking you for money. She resisted for nearly 10 full minutes, told me it was too much, that she couldn't take money from me, that our relationship wasn't supposed to be like that. I had to argue her into accepting. Looking back, I understand every second of that resistance. It was the most important 10 minutes of the operation. Her refusal made me feel like the decision was entirely mine. She never asked. I offered. That distinction mattered to me for a long time, because it meant this wasn't transactional. It was love. I sent $120 through Western Union. The photo she sent back arrived within the hour. Lee, grinning so wide her whole face became the smile, holding up a new purple backpack like a trophy. What I felt in that moment wasn't the satisfaction of a transaction. It was something much older. The feeling of being needed. Of making a difference that was immediate and real. My divorce had stripped me of my role as provider, as the person whose presence mattered. And here, in this small photo, I had been given that feeling back. Sunny understood exactly how powerful it was. She had chosen it deliberately. The emergencies began arriving every 2 to 3 weeks. An electricity bill. Lee's persistent cough needing a doctor. The landlord raising rent. Each time, Sunny mentioned it in passing, not as a request, but as a weight she was carrying. Each time I offered. Each time she declined, expressed discomfort, told me I was too generous. Each time I insisted. And each time the cycle closed with tears of gratitude and declarations that she'd never had anyone show up for her like this. The amounts moved upward so gradually I didn't notice the incline. 120 became 200. 200 became 350. 350 became 500. By month 3 I had sent $1,470. I told myself, this is what partners do. Every dollar is an investment in the life we're building. I needed those stories to be true. So I made them true in my mind. And kept sending. I booked the trip in month 4. 3 weeks in Davao. Flights, hotels, gifts for Sunny, Lee, and the family I'd heard so much about. Over $7,000 before I landed. I felt nothing but anticipation. This wasn't an expense. This was the most important trip of my life. In Davao, I proposed on a beach at sunset.
Yes!
Sunny said yes through tears. I spent the next 2 years believing were the happiest she'd ever cried. The total cost of 3 weeks, flights, hotels, ring, family loan, gifts, photographer, came to approximately $15,000. My assessment on the flight home, best decision of my life. Sunny's message to her private network that same night, hooked him. Citizenship secured. Extraction phase activated. Back in Columbus, the K-1 fiancé visa process began. Filing fees, medical exams, police clearances, embassy interview in Manila, $2,675 in documented costs alone. All paid by me. The processing window was 8 to 12 months, 8 to 12 months of scheduled video calls across a 13-hour time difference, and an unbroken sequence of financial emergencies that arrived with the regularity of a subscription. Month 7. Lee's school tuition, $800. A doctor visit for Sunny's mother, $300. The refrigerator stopped working, $400. $1,500 gone. Month 8. Sunny's father hospitalized for a cardiac episode, $2,200. Her work laptop failed, $900. Flood damage to the family house, $1,100. $4,200 that month. I put part of it on a credit card. Month 9. Lee's birthday, $600. A contribution to Sunny's sister's wedding, $1,500. And then the cruelest charge of the operation, Sunny's grandmother had passed away. She called me in the early morning, voice raw, devastated. I sent $2,000 for the funeral within the hour. I grieved with her. What I could not have known was that the grandmother was alive and posting photos on Facebook the very week I was sending funeral money across the Pacific. By month 12, Sunny had stopped working entirely. We settled on $1,200 a month as a living allowance, plus emergencies. Over 6 months I had sent $21,300. Combined with everything prior, my total investment had reached $38,770. I was carrying credit card debt for the first time in my adult life. Some months I was choosing between my retirement account and covering whatever Sunny needed. I chose Sunny. Every time, I chose Sunny. The visa came through 13 months after filing. I was at the arrivals terminal 2 hours early. When Sunny walked through with Lee on her hip, something in her face settled when she saw me. She took my hand. On the drive home, Lee pressed her face to the window and watched Ohio go past in the dark. When Sunny walked through the front door and saw what I had prepared, the clean rooms, the made beds, Lee's decorated bedroom, she turned to me and said, "It's perfect. We're finally home." I believed every word. For the first 2 months, she was the woman I had believed in completely. Warm, affectionate, cooking Filipino food most nights. My kids began to warm to her. We felt, in a way that was both real and painful in equal measure, like a family. We married on day 87 of the 90-day window. Just over $12,000 to make it legal. The change started within weeks of the wedding. Gradual, the kind of shift you almost convince yourself you're imagining. The affection turned down by degrees. The cooking stopped. The gratitude evaporated so completely I began to wonder if I had projected it onto her. In its place came something cold. A casual entitlement that had the quality of someone who has arrived somewhere they were always supposed to be and is done performing the appreciation that got them there. "You promised me a good life," she told me one evening, finding me in the kitchen. "I didn't come to America to be your maid." I stood there for a moment. Then I made dinner myself. In month 16 she told me she needed a car. I suggested something reliable in the $8,000 range. She wanted a new one. "I deserve it," she said, flat, certain. When I explained my reasoning, she cried. Not the grateful tears I remembered. These were controlled. Surgical. When crying didn't move me, she escalated. "Maybe I should just go back to the Philippines. If you can't even give your own wife a car." I bought her a new Honda CR-V, $32,000. I handed her the keys and waited for the warmth. She looked at the car, nodded slightly, and went inside. She simply stopped speaking to me. No eye contact. No conversation at meals. I moved through my own home as though I were invisible, a feeling, I understood with exhaustion, that I recognized. By day 7 I sent the $5,000. She thanked me briefly and moved back into the marriage as though nothing had happened. The suspicion had been building in layers. Sunny was always on her phone, typing quickly in Tagalog, screen angled away. Calls taken outside, in the car, in the bathroom with the fan running. My gut was loud. The same gut that had tried to tell me something about Lisa and Brett for 2 years before the confession. I was not going to override it again. She had given me her passcode in the first weeks after arriving, a casual gesture I understood as evidence she had nothing to hide. She had never changed it. One evening in month 18, while the shower was running, I picked up her phone. What I found in the next 15 minutes rewrote everything I had believed about the previous 2 years. There was a WhatsApp group. 12 members. All Filipino women, some married to foreign nationals, some actively cultivating new targets. The group was called Support Network. It was a strategy room. Sunny's messages read like business updates. 3 months earlier, days after arriving in Columbus, just landed in America. Mission accomplished. A week later, he's easy. Cry and he gives me whatever I need. About the car, got the new CR-V 32,000. He complained for a week. I just stopped talking to him. He folded in 7 days. The private thread with her sister was more direct. "How much longer do I have to keep doing this? He's so boring." And then the sentence that drove something cold and definitive through the center of my chest: "Citizenship takes 3 years. After that I file, take half, and I'm done with this." There were messages referencing someone named Paul. A Canadian. Her previous target, still sending $800 a month to a woman he believed was his girlfriend in the Philippines. Paul did not know Sunny had left the country. Paul did not know she was legally married. Paul believed he was in a relationship. I kept scrolling. Screenshots of active profiles on multiple dating platforms. Flirtatious messages to men I didn't recognize. And then the bank records, an account in the Philippines with a current balance of $89,000. Every peso traceable to transfers I had made. Emergencies that never happened. Medical bills for hospitalizations that never occurred. Funeral costs for a grandmother who was alive. Every tear manufactured. Every declaration of love a financial instrument. Every I love you a transaction with a predetermined exchange rate. I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. I walked to the garage. I sat down on the concrete floor next to my car and stared at the wall for 45 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just sat there while the second version of the life I had built, the one I had rebuilt with such care and such hope after the first was taken from me, came apart in complete, total silence. Exactly the way the first one had. I gave myself 3 days. I screenshot everything. The group chat, the private messages, the bank statements, the dating profiles. I consulted a divorce attorney and an immigration attorney. I filed a preemptive restraining order before Sunny had any indication I knew anything. Then I sat her down at the kitchen table. Her face, in the 3 seconds before she could control it, was pure panic. Then it hardened into something calculating and cold. You went through my phone. I told her everything. The strategy group. The messages about me. The divorce plan. The $8,000 to $9,000. Paul in Canada. The fake funeral. She looked at me while something worked behind her eyes. Then she said, "Did you ever love me? Even a little?" I asked it with a steadiness that cost me something. The pause lasted 5 full seconds. "You want the truth?" She said. "Fine. No. I never loved you. I needed a visa. You were the easiest target. The easiest target. 2 years of 4-hour conversations. The trip to Davao. Lee touching my face with her small hand in the arrivals hall. The proposal on the beach. The marriage. All of it reduced, in the flat delivery of someone done with the performance, to 4 words. She then laid out my options with the calm of someone who had rehearsed this part. Accept quietly and let the divorce proceed on her timeline. Or fight her, and she would file a police report for emotional abuse that same day, apply for a restraining order to remove me from my own home, post a carefully constructed narrative to every social media platform, notify my employer, and tell my children things about their father that would take years to undo. "You have no idea what I am capable of," she said. Looking at her face, at the complete absence of the woman I had believed in, I understood that this was not a bluff. "There is a third option," I said. "I report you to USIS for immigration fraud." She laughed. "With what? Screenshots you took off my phone without my permission? You can try." I reported her. I filed every form, submitted every screenshot, built the most detailed factual record I could. I hired an immigration attorney for $8,500. Sunny hired her own, paid for with money I had sent her, and built a counter-narrative that was professionally polished. In her telling, she had loved me. She had uprooted her life for me. But after arriving, she discovered I was controlling, emotionally abusive, financially manipulative. She was the victim. She filed the police report. She posted to social media, photos from our wedding, from family dinners, with the caption, "My abusive husband is trying to have me deported for asking for a divorce." The Filipino community in Columbus divided. People who had eaten at my table took her side. USIS approved her conditional green card. The reasoning was devastating in its bureaucratic logic. Insufficient evidence that the marriage was fraudulent at inception. Both parties entered willingly. Allegations of fraud appear to reflect a postmarital dispute. The phone screenshots had been obtained without consent, which compromised their evidentiary weight. She had lived in my home and learned my life in sufficient detail to satisfy the evidentiary standard. For USIS, that was enough. The divorce followed the same logic. My petition for annulment on grounds of fraud was denied. The final settlement gutted me. She kept the CRV. She received $10,000 from the home equity, $18,000 from retirement account gains, and $1,500 a month in spousal support for 18 months. Total settlement, $87,000. Added to the $45,000 sent during the long-distance phase, the $21,000 on arrival and the wedding, and the $33,000 in legal fees, the final number arrived on my kitchen table with the quiet finality of something that could not be undone. $186,000. That was the price. That was what loneliness cost. That was what being the easiest target in the room cost. If you are watching this and you are recently divorced, I need you to hear what I'm about to say. Your pain is real. The loneliness that comes after a marriage ends, especially one that ended through betrayal, is a specific, consuming kind of pain that most people who haven't been through it cannot fully understand. You'll need to feel chosen again, to feel genuinely wanted. That need is human and legitimate. There is nothing wrong with it. But that pain is visible from the outside. Professional romance scammers study divorce forums. They learn the vocabulary of heartbreak. They understand, with clinical precision, what a recently separated person needs to hear, and they will deliver every word of it with tears in their eyes and complete conviction. They have done it before. They are doing it to someone else right now. If a beautiful younger person from another country contacts you first, asks about your divorce with careful sensitivity, tells you that you deserved better, makes you feel genuinely seen for the first time in years, stop. That is the script. You are being cast in a role you didn't audition for. Do not send money. I don't care how urgent it sounds, how credible the photos are, how clearly you can hear the distress in their voice. Sick parents. Hospital bills. Flood damage. Funeral costs for relatives you've never met. If you have not physically stood in the same room as this person and verified their life with your own eyes, you have no way of knowing what is true. None. Do not rush to marriage. Real love can survive a long engagement. A visa application cannot. The K1 timeline is a countdown. Listen to the people in your life who express concern. I know they seem narrow-minded. But the people who love you, who see you in person, who know the sound of your voice when something is wrong, have a perspective you lose completely when you are 10,000 miles deep in an emotional investment in someone you've never actually shared a room with. And if you are already in it, document everything. Every transfer. Every message. Every emergency. Keep your finances completely separate. Consult an attorney before the visa is approved, not after. I lost $186,000. I lost 3 years of my life. I lost 5 years of retirement. I lost my relationship with my children for a time, and the full trust has never completely returned. I lost my ability to extend basic faith to another person without a cost I can feel in my body. And the woman who took all of it is out there right now, living in the country I paid to bring her to, driving the car I purchased, running the same operation on a man who believes he has finally found what he's been looking for.
So glad we came.
All I can do is tell you this story, honestly, including the parts that are hardest to say out loud. And hope that somewhere in it, in the details of how it started, how it felt, how it progressed so slowly and so logically that each step seemed reasonable from inside it, somewhere in there is the thing that makes you pause. Before the next transfer. Before you believe the next beautiful stranger who looks at you through a screen and tells you, with tears in their eyes and absolute conviction, that you are exactly what they have been searching for. I lost everything. Don't be me. If this story stayed with you, if it made you think twice, or reminded you of someone who needs to hear it, please subscribe and share it. Every person who watches this before it happens to them is a life protected. And that makes all of it, the shame, the loss, the humiliation of telling the world exactly how badly I was fooled, worth something.